If we look at our shot right now as it is in this shape after this pass that we've done, probably is lacking something. We need something else in order to sell our ideas or our shot to the supervisors or director, and also probably we have the feeling that creatively speaking it still doesn't feel that good. Well, that is because we need to work one more thing, which is the flow. As mentioned before, flow is when the audio dialogue and the character animation that blends together, giving this very nice sense of unity. It is when we achieve the sensation of the feeling that the character is alive, which is the goal of the animation itself. Well, in this stage is where we have to start giving that feeling. But flow is not only that feeling of giving that feeling of the character being alive. It has to also have that very interesting way of being alive. Generally, a good flow gives that sharpy feeling of aliveness. It's very organic. It's interesting to see how alive it is. That is what we are looking for. When we work the flow and we're looking for flow, it's a process. It's a process of interconnecting the poses that we've done before with the new poses that we are going to be doing now, and how all the poses, they are connected to the audio itself. So the more advanced the blocking is, or the more poses that we have, the more flow we're starting to add. So that's why timing is also very important to help us to create that sense of unity, of integration, that sense of flow. By this time, I recommend you that you have a look to the references that are in the handbook of this module. Let's look at this very specifically. Okay, so this is Jeff Gabor's probably one of the main references out there right now in this era of 3D animation. When it comes to feeling or talking about flow, I think Jeff is one of the best references to have, because pretty early in his stages, like this one that is blocking, he got that sense of flow or unity, integration of what we see and what we hear, and with that kind of aliveness, with that sharpy feeling of how cool, how interesting this character is alive, right? Let's have a look at this.
And then you get the feeling that maybe that thing watching you is a giant elephant.
Remember those how even with tiny little changes, he always gets that. There's another pose, there's another shot that he gets that, this one. I really love the sense of flow of this shot. We're just looking at this square here, which is blocking. So we know that we can already get that feeling of flow very in the very beginning of the shot.
Turns out I need your help a little bit. Apparently, if that speck keeps moving around, our whole world could be obliterated. So I need you to find us who's a safer, more stable home, and fast.
Right. Very cool, very cool. I recommend you to go through all the references and have a sense. Of course, this is a subjective matter that we have to pay attention and be sensitive from the creative perspective, let's say like that. But I'm confident that you guys will see that. So now that we have an idea more or less of what is flow, or how does it feel, or how does it look flow, let's see how we can do this working in our shot. Here's when it gets a little tricky, because getting a sense of flow is something that is subjective. When we feel that there is flow, is there, we can really see that it's happening, but when it's not, we got this feeling of there's something missing, right? Like it needs some kind of more definition, or some kind of more aliveness. That's a very good way to more or less see if we need to apply more flow, or see if we are in the right path or not. Anyways, the thing is that we stay only working on golden poses and the key poses. And this also we are doing by also timing or changing the timing a little bit. Sometimes we need to move our keys a little bit forward or backward, but it's very important that we try to achieve this flow without adding too many breakdowns on it, and try to stay with a nice and a very precise timing. So for example, if you see that you have some misses on flow, or if you see that still the aliveness is not quite there, before adding any more poses, make sure that is not the timing that you have, because sometimes it's just to bring in some keys back, like a couple of frames, or maybe some keys forward a little bit, because it's kind of like a magical thing. The moment that you have 3 good poses related to each other in the right timing with the right audio, or working on those, it just happens. It's like, oh wow, now it's alive. That's why flow is a little tricky, and that's why this stage is a little tricky. So again, before doing too many poses, work with the timing and work with the poses that you have, and see before doing anything else if that works. If after trying to retime the timing a little bit, it doesn't really feel like it's alive enough, well, you add one more breakdown and see how it works, and you work with all those keys. But it's important to try to keep it simple still. One very important thing in order to get a sense of flow is to stay in the moment. At this stage, I don't really recommend you to stay too close or stay attached to what you did in your video references. What you have in your scene now and what you get in your playlist, that should be the source of what to do next, right? So a sense of flow is also trying to be spontaneous in the ideas and trying to adapt to what you see and to adapt to what you've done in the previous stage. So if you're working now, for example, just adding some new key poses here and there, and you got an idea that works with this key poses stages, well, give it a try. Go and see how it looks, because we've been pushing, we've been changing. Our animation doesn't necessarily need to be as close as the video reference was. You've been changing. The thing is been changing, it's been evolving in a creative way, in a way that feels good, right? So you always should stay open to those kind of changes. Remember to don't overcomplicate it too much. So part of this process in order to get a good flow is also to let yourself be influenced of what you see, because sometimes when we are doing a pose and when we are starting to put one pose after the other, things happen. We got excited, or we got new ideas, or we got inspiration from what we just have done. Well, stay open to that. Allow yourself to change things and to make the things work together in a new way, because you cannot really see how your animation is gonna see in the future. That's very, very difficult, and definitely you cannot act out as your animation is gonna be. It should be the opposite in this way overall. If you're looking for a creatively way of working, you should be always let your work influence you and influence the next steps that you're gonna be using. That is help you a lot to get that sense of flow. So this is where it gets like a little tricky. Try to always stay simple in the ideas that you have and the ideas that you are trying to do, but allow yourself to get new ideas.